guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my November TBR and I'm putting this video up a little bit early on my channel because of what you might have seen in the title, which is that I want you guys to pick some of my November TBR. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to be reading for non-fiction November first, and then I'll explain in the second bit of the video how the picking the rest of my TBR is going to work. As you guys know, last month I did something different and put a TBR video up, which is not something that I usually do, but I'm just sort of playing around with different ideas for my TBRs, and this is what I'm doing for November. So like I said, I'm going to talk to you about my non-fiction November TBR first. I will leave a link in the description box below to Olive's announcement video, and she also did like a recommendations and TBR video. There are 4 prompts for non-fiction November, and they're one-word prompts as they usually are every year. I'm not necessarily following those. I did sort of pick stuff out like briefly or like sort of subtly based on them, but I'm not really following them. I've just kind of picked things out where I think I'm going to be really interested to read in November. I get my words out. So I've got 4 things to show you here first of all. So the first non-fiction book that I want to read in November is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This is on my 5-star predictions list. I put that video up ages ago, I think maybe earlier in the year or even last year, and I've, to be honest, completely forgotten about it. So I really want to get started on that. This is a memoir all about Jeanette Walls' life growing up in a really non-conventional family. A bit, I don't know, I kind of, from what I remember, it's sort of like a little bit, I don't know whether it's violent or it says her family are deeply dysfunctional and uniquely vibrant. So I think her father was sort of an alcoholic, her mother a free spirit who abhorred the idea of domesticity and didn't want the responsibility of raising a family. So yeah, I've heard really good things about this memoir and I must get around to reading it in November. Completely different from that is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This is Michelle McNamara's account of trying to catch is it the Golden State Killer? Yeah, the Golden State Killer. This was really popular on BookTube last year, and I bought it last year and just still haven't got around to reading it basically. So Michelle McNamara, I think, was she a journalist? I can't remember. Maybe something like that, but she was really interested in solving this case. She spent an awful long time on it, and unfortunately she died before she could publish this book, so it was finished off by a couple of other people and then finished. So it's got an introduction by Gillian Flynn and afterward by Patton Oswalt. Yeah, I've heard that this is going to be quite dark and gritty because obviously it's going to talk about what the Golden State Killer did and that sort of thing, but I also think I'm going to find it really interesting because I do really like true crime. One that I've had on my shelf for I think at least 2 years now, maybe even 3, is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson, and the subtitle of this is A Story of Justice and Redemption. And this says on the back, Brian Stevenson grew up poor in the racially segregated South. His innate sense of justice made him a brilliant young lawyer, and one of his first defendants was Walter McMillan, a black man sentenced to die for the murder of a white woman, a crime he insisted he didn't commit. The case drew Brian into a tangle of conspiracy, political machination, startling racial inequality and legal brinksmanship, and transformed his understanding of mercy and justice forever. So he's clearly going to be talking about this case and perhaps some other cases as well, and then sort of like delving into the justice system in America and perhaps in other countries as well. Again, this is one that people have praised so highly, and I must get around to reading this too. And then one that I bought really recently actually is called It's About Bloody Time, period. This is a book that's all about periods basically. So on the front it's got like all of these, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see, but all of these like names that we call periods, or I say we, I don't call them a lot of these things on here. So the little description in here, part of it says, somehow despite women having had periods since the dawn of time, we're totally clammed up on anything to do with menstruation. Why oh why would we rather say auntie flow than period? Why in the 21st century are periods still seen as icky? Why are we still so ignorant about such a fundamental bodily process? Now in period, Emma draws on female experiences that will make you laugh, weep, and most probably squirm in a fierce and funny rallying cry to smash this ridiculous taboo once and for all. I think this is going to be funny, interesting, yeah, and I just, as soon as I bought it, I really wanted to read it, so I thought I'd put it on my November TBR. Okay, so they are the 4 non-fiction books that I want to read in November, but then I want to put some other things on my TBR as well, and this is where you guys are going to come in, so hence why I'm putting up the video a little bit early, because what I want you guys to do is to pick what the rest of my books are going to be for November. So what I would like you to do is leave me some numbers in the comments down below, and those numbers are going to correspond to books that I have on my TBR, and I'm going to try and pick up some of those books in November. So I'm going to tell you what kind of numbers and sort of what they mean, and then you can decide which numbers you leave me down below. So what I want to see is like the number and then which TBR it's coming off of, and this will be clear as we go through. So on my I have a few different TBRs on my, looking at my phone on my Goodreads shelf. So I have my ARC TBR and there are 112 books on there. I have my Kindle TBR and there are 699 books on there, and then I have my physical TBR and there are 314 books on there. I also have my want to read shelf, but I've changed the way that I've organised my books onto Goodreads so that my want to read shelf is basically all of the books that I don't actually own that I would eventually like to read. So we're going to kind of leave that to one side. So I have 112 books on my ARC TBR, so I'd quite like to read 1 or 2 of those in the month of November. So if you want to pick me a book from that TBR, then you need to leave me a comment down below that's got the number between 1 and 112 and then ARC TBR next to it, ARC. And then like I said, there are 699 books on my Kindle TBR. So again, if you want to pick a Kindle book for me to read, then you need to leave me a number between 1 and 699 in the comments down below with the words Kindle TBR next to it. And then if you want me to read one of my physical TBR books, then you need to leave me a number between 1 and 314 in the comments down below with the words physical TBR next to it. So I hope that that's clear, and that you guys know what you're doing, but obviously if you're not quite sure, then again leave me a comment and I'll reply to you, just kind of clarifying anything that you're unsure about. If you pick something that happens to be like one of these ones, or it happens to be one that I haven't yet read in October, that I will read before the end of the month, then I will just kind of go to the next comment basically. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this because I think it's going to mean that I'm going to read some books that I haven't really had on my radar for an awfully long time, or maybe you'll pick me a book that I've bought really recently that, you know, I wouldn't pick up for a little while, or whatever it might be. So yeah, really excited to see how this goes. I'm also going to try and share this on Twitter as well, just to kind of try and get as many people to comment on my video as possible. So yeah, and maybe if this is popular, it's something that I could do on my channel a bit more regularly. So for example, Jess from Peace Heart Books, yeah, I think that's her channel name, she does like a pick what I read next every single month, and so she gives like a few choices and then people pick what they want her to read, and then she reads it and reviews it on her channel. Sarah does something similar where she does like anticipated reads every month, and then you get to comment with the one that you want her to read, and then she'll buy that and read that eventually. So yeah, there are a few different people who do things that are similar to this on BookTube, so I could make this a bit more of a regular feature on my channel. You guys can let me know whether you think that's a good idea too. So that's it then, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your comments for what I'm going to read in, you know, the comments down below, obviously. Apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.